Hip, hip, tally-ho, Joolz Guides here, in which I wander around London telling you fascinating facts. And today we're in Leicester Square. I'm sorry I'm a bit late with the upload this week. There's a lot concentrated in this whole area around Leicester Square. We're going to start here, walk down Charing Cross Road. We'll dip into Trafalgar Square, only briefly, and all around here. You'll see. Anyway, look, behind me is the Hippodrome. It was built in 1900. Hippodrome comes from hippos, meaning horse in Greek, and dromos, meaning racetrack. Because originally it was some sort of circus entertainment area. Later on it turned into a theatre venue, and now it's a casino. Actually, that's the first place where Swan Lake was performed in London. And also where jazz was first properly heard in the 1920s. The original Dixieland jazz band came over. They received terrible reviews though. People didn't know quite what they were listening to. And when Louis Armstrong came over here, the critics wrote strange things about him, like he was very interesting. I stayed to see this man with a trumpet. He did everything with it except play it. They'd never heard such sounds coming from a trumpet. I don't know if you remember, but in my Charlie Chaplin video, we went in there with Charlie Chaplin's grandson. Let's just cut to that briefly now.
Second turn in, right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You know your way?
What's going on?
How's it going?
Very well. How's it going with you?
Oh, very well.
Give you a little bit. Make sure you can pick it. Anyway, everybody, welcome to the Hippodrome Casino. My name's Michael. I'm the host here, host with the most. All right, and stuff. But just to come over here, because we've got a history board basically of people who's performed here over the years, basically. And this number one chappie here performed here when he was sort of like 10, 11 years old. In the very first show that was shown in here was called the Giddy Austin Show, basically. And this young gentleman here was with him called Little Titch as well. And then you had people like Tom Jones, Bruce Forsyth, Ichabod Humperdinck, Lulu.
And now Michael.
And now me, obviously. And now me.
The funny thing about this picture is that it's a picture of a wax figure of someone else dressed up as my grandfather, who I think was a woman.
Well, you think your grandfather was a woman. Just next to Leicester Square Station. I've walked past this so many times. I don't know if you've spotted that. Look, the cricket bats with the cricket stumps up there. John Wisden, he was actually a cricket player. He bowled slow underarm in the early 1800s. Slow underarm for, I don't know, Kent and Middlesex and Sussex, I believe. I don't know how many wickets he took. You'd have to look in his famous almanack, which records all sorts of strange statistics about how many overs people bowled and how many people were out in the test match at Sydney in 1931 and all things like that. But he actually opened a shop originally with Fred Lillywhite, as in Lillywhite's, the big shop on Piccadilly Circus, the big sports shop there. They dealt with cricket and cigars. After he retired, I think he moved here and continued selling some sports equipment and goodness knows what here and his cricketing almanack. And sadly, he died aged 57 in a flat upstairs there. Yeah, just above his shop. Anyway, amazing that. Angus Steakhouse, Simon. How are they still going? I don't know. Have you ever been in one? I've never been in one.
I've never been.
They've been around for ages and I've never been in one.
It's always been there in my whole life.
Yeah.
You can tell by my manner and style I'm a swell. Yes, a
Cork and bottle. Hidden in plain sight, they say. It's like another one of London's worst, best kept secrets. This one actually does full, proper food. Look, you can come here for Sunday roast. It's open until midnight.
I've never been in.
No, it's kind of cool. It's a little oasis in the middle of Leicester Square. The zoo bar takes me back, Simon. Used to go there to try and pick somebody up in my younger days. Oh, look, now across the road there, do you know Al Bowie? Look, that's where Al Bowie lived. Al Bowie was one of the first sort of pop stars, I suppose. He was actually born in South Africa, but he gained fame over here in the 1930s. If ever you hear a crooner from the 1930s and it isn't Bing Crosby, it's most likely to be Al Bowie. He's famous for those songs like Time on My Hands. You know, he had that really lovely lilt to his voice. But anyway, it's rather unfortunate because that's where he was living when he was really at the height of his fame, here on Charing Cross Road. But around the 1940s, he moved to Jermyn Street, and that's where he was when he refused to leave his house. He didn't like to leave during air raids, sirens. He just said, oh, they're not going to hit me, you know, during the war. And so he went to bed, and yeah, there was a direct hit on his house by the Luftwaffe. And they found him in bed, just sitting upright like that, with a book. And he apparently, he didn't have any injuries on him, but it was just the shockwave, the sheer blast outside his window, just like, woo, just completely knocked him out, and he was just found like that. And then buried in a mass grave.
Is this the way?
It's the back of the Odeon, isn't it?
Yeah, this is because sometimes we would come out this way when I worked there. I love this. Look.
Oh. Bit grim there. Always fascinated by these little alleyways. So I love these buildings along here. Mostly built around the end of the 19th century. They've got some lovely details above the doors, haven't they? And that way that drain pipe is chased into the wall, that's quite good, isn't it?
You see, they've still got the old. They don't use it anymore for some reason here, but you see like a faded old Odeon. But they used to advertise there, obviously. But they would put the titles for the films because they used to have the mezzanine.
Actually, across the road there, you know, you see this building here. This is a Chinese library. It says 1891. So, I mean, it started as some sort of wool warehouse. And later in the 1930s, it was kind of like the headquarters for the Italian Benevolent Society, but which at that stage had sympathies towards Mussolini and the Fascist Party. But as soon as the war came along, then it was seized by the British government as, you know, enemy property. And then Clementine Churchill, who was Winston Churchill's wife, turned it into the New Zealand Forces Club, where members of the, I don't know, New Zealand Air Force or Anzacs could have a cup of tea and a biscuit. But these days, everyone's playing mahjong. You can learn to play mahjong in there. I think it's one of the biggest repositories of Chinese books and literature in London. Just above Let's Fill This Town with Artists, the Cass Arts, that window there is a very exclusive club. That is the Beefsteak Club. It's a lovely room. It looks kind of Jacobean, but I think it was actually built in Victorian times. They've got room for 24 diners around their table. You can just about see through the window. Look at those lovely beams. I mean, it started life as the Sublime Society of Beefsteaks in 1735 over in Covent Garden. The rumour is that that's where the Gerald Lord Sandwich ordered 2 slices of bread with some meat between them and invented sandwich. That's it's so rubbish, I know. But anyway, that's apparently where the sandwich was invented. But anyway, one day, one of the members misnamed one of the waiters, and he got his name wrong, and so he decided, you know, let's make a new rule that all waiters are called Charles. So if you have to address the waiter as Charles in there. But the doors are around the corner. Yeah, very difficult. Yeah, if you want to be a member, you have to be proposed by one member, then seconded, and then they have to have a big discussion about, you know, whether you're an interesting dinner guest or not. There's all sorts of criteria you have to fulfill. Yeah.
I mean, is it just a club where they eat steak? It's just one room and they just sit there and just read newspapers.
For conversation, Simon, yes. For, if the Prime Minister is there and you're there, they'll stick you next to the Prime Minister, you know? Like, you can't book a table or anything like that.
No, but is it like one big table you sit around?
Yeah. I think it's one. Look, I haven't been there, Simon.
I know, fascinating. If you don't
It's
know.
one life of pleasure. I stroll at my leisure. My stride to an inch is correct Bond Street measure.
You know, if I was London Mayor, Simon, I would be opening all of these up, these public toilets which have been closed. That's the first thing I would do. Maybe it is open. No, I doubt it. That doesn't look open. I've always liked this little bit of Charing Cross Road. Is actually quite fascinating. It's quite nice. And you know, you often miss these beautiful lampposts.
Yeah.
They're right in plain sight, but they're
Yeah, they
amazing,
are,
aren't they?
yeah.
It's so ornate. Just opposite the National Portrait Gallery, well, this used to be the old Westminster City Hall. It says Custodi Civitatem Domine, which means, "Oh Lord, watch over our city," or something like that in Latin. Because when they had a big shake-up in the around 1900 of all the boroughs and parishes and whatever, they needed a bigger place for a civic building. But in the 1960s, they did it again, and Westminster kind of enlarged, so now they've moved down to Victoria. But yeah, And that's what that originally was. They've really spruced it up around here, haven't they?
have, yeah.
Look at that. It's the... I never noticed those before. This is on the National Portrait Gallery, all those nice artists and stuff. You just don't notice them. And they're right outside Henry Irving's statue here. He was the first actor to be knighted because he fought vehemently to get theatre recognised as an art form along with painting and music. Born 1838, died 1905. He then did a lot of work. He was like the manager over at the Lyceum Theatre, so he would have overseen that famous moment when that famous actor performed as Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and he was so convincing that they thought that he was probably Jack the Ripper at the time. But anyway, that wasn't him. He was the manager of that theatre.
I walk up and down Piccadilly from sunrise to closing of day.
This is the Orange Street Covenant Church. It was actually originally before this, because this has been rebuilt since, but it was founded by French Huguenots in 1693 after they were booted out of France by King Louis XIV, the Edict of Nantes, sometime in the 1680s, I think. Since then, it's been replaced more as Chinatown, but up until the middle of the 20th century, there were quite a lot of French people around here and lots of French businesses and restaurants. And they had Sir Isaac Newton as their neighbour. He lived next door where the library is. Here, look. More importantly, this is the library where I edited the first Joolz guides. And there's a lovely room at the top. They've closed it now, it's quite a pity. And I edited the whole of Take Me to Pitcairn there. By the way, if you haven't seen my amazing film Take Me to Pitcairn, it is on my YouTube channel, my best bit of work. I edited it all in there.
I've strolled the same beat till I've worn out my feet and my ankles have senile decay.
They've improved Leicester Square a bit actually. When I was a kid, I really didn't have much love for this area, but they've made it quite nice now. You can actually sit here amongst William Shakespeare and the flowers and the fountains. It was laid out as a square in 1670 by the Earl of Leicester, who had Leicester House. It was just up there somewhere on the north side. But then when that was demolished in 1790, the whole area went in a bit of a decline until the Victorian times, when Baron Grant, he was born in Dublin, the son of peddlers from Eastern Europe, but he managed to work his way up doing all sorts of dodgy deals and even became an MP. But he developed the area and they started building things like entertainment venues, theatres and stuff like that. All the businesses that this Baron Grant started up all failed and a lot of people lost a lot of money. But we have him to thank for Leicester Square being the way it is. And William Shakespeare was put here as a part of his development programme. And over there you got the Odeon Leicester Square. That used to be the Alhambra Palace Theatre. Queen Victoria used to go there. Then in the 1930s, once music halls and theatres started to become less popular and cinema was the new thing, they opened up the Odeon Leicester Square. And the first film shown there, I believe, was The Prisoner of Zenda with Douglas Fairbanks Jr. I love that film, that was so good. Jules Léotard, Jules Léotard, he was a French trapeze artist. He debuted there. He was the original daring young man on the flying trapeze who inspired the song by George Clayburn, you know. Oh, he flies through the air with the greatest of ease, the daring young man on the flying trapeze. He wore an all-in-one bodysuit, which all the acrobats wear these days, and that's why it's called the leotard. That's why you call that a leotard after Jules Léotard. Very nearly, it could have been called a Joolz. Why did they call it a leotard? They should have called it a Joolz. Jules Léotard.
I've been up the top of the tower.
Really?
Yeah, I went up the top of the tower at the Christmas party when I worked there. It was a staff party.
Is anyone famous?
Well, the Queen, Jim Carrey, I mean, loads of people. When you have a royal premiere, you have all the B-list celebs come as well.
Is there a photograph of you next to any royal members?
There was one ex-royal member, yeah. Yeah, there was a picture of me. You could just see me, just peering behind his shoulder.
Those are the days.
So back in the day, when they made the cinema, they also made apartments for the manager of the cinema, so he could live there as well with his family.
It's amazing.
While he worked.
Yeah.
I remember, again, we would explore around the back of the place and there'll be all these unused rooms and
Yeah.
pigeons flying everywhere, and
Yeah.
there's all oldie-worldy furniture from the 60s, the 50s, you name it.
Yeah.
Now it's probably completely gutted, all redone, but I'm glad I got to see it, you know, right in its last sort of...
Yeah, because the Empire, Leicester Square, you don't often look up, but that's a beautiful theatre from the 1800s, as are these buildings as well.
I'm Silk Hat Tony, I'm down and I'm stony. I'm not only broke, but I'm bent. The fringe round my trousers keeps lashing the houses, but damn it, I'm gay and content.
Look at this, the Church of Notre Dame de France. Like I was saying earlier on, there were lots of French people living around here back in those days when this was built, which was in 1861. And it's quite unusual shape because it's a round cast iron building. And the reason it's round is because before this was on this location, they had something here called Burford's Panorama from the early 1800s. It was like early virtual reality. It was a big round building, and you could go up inside. It had various platforms, and you were completely immersed in pictures of the sea or desert, and it had a canopy over the roof with pictures on that, so it actually felt like you were really experiencing these things. It was quite a remarkable experience. But anyway, that got replaced in 1861 by the Church of Notre Dame de France, and inside, they've got some remarkable murals done by Jean Cocteau. I think there was 3 of them. Anyway, there's a bunch of them, all representing stages of the Virgin Mary's life, crucifixion, the Annunciation. And there's another one where he's got a bit of a self-portrait as well. So it's quite a famous piece of art there by Jean Cocteau. And next door to there, the Leicester Theatre. I saw Doug Stanhope live there, stand-up comedian. He's quite good, I have to say. Spotlight, the venue of many castings for me. It's a pity, actually. I don't know if they've completely closed down here. They must have moved to somewhere, but I used to go to a lot of castings there. But now they just call you and they ask you to do like a self-tape at home. It's completely changed the way that castings operate for me. Because sorry to bore you here, but when you're an actor, you go to a casting and you know you might not get the job, but at least you get to go and meet some of the other people. You meet the director, he'll tell you, oh no, you do it a different way. Oh, you weren't funny enough, do it like this, do it like that. Now they just give you some information, make you do it in your living room at home, in your pajamas, and I don't know, it's not so easy. You get no feedback. The Prince Charles Cinema. Back in the 70s, they specialised in cult, art house, classics, and they also do Hollywood films as well. But for a while there, they used to show sort of almost soft porn. Back then, it was a little bit too racy for the English public at that time. When I was young, they used to have things like dress-up versions of the Rocky Horror Show. Everyone would come along, sing along, and Rocky Horror, there we go, they still do it. I just wondered what my brother and his friends were doing, all dressing up in these crazy outfits. I could never understand it, but they were going there. Look what they've got at the moment. They're showing Amélie, they're showing La Haine, Stop Making Sense, Heat. There's so many different films. They have like loads and loads of different films each week. It was where they did the premiere for Just a Gigolo, starring David Bowie, which I believe was Marlene Dietrich's last film.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it wasn't very good. It wasn't very good.
I stroll the West gaily, you'll see me there daily. From Burlington Arcade up to the Old Bailey, I'm Tony.
Is it Lisle Street or Leal Street? But look up there, lovely New Leal Street, MDC CXCI. Don't put me on the spot, I don't know what year that is. It's a nice old street sign, isn't it? So look at this, I only just spotted that. Karl Marx stayed here. Well, Leicester House, that's because this used to be actually quite a famous brasserie and sort of hotel. But there we go, look, Johann Strauss stayed there as well. They've retained the old signs on the balconies there. It says Langouste huître moule. What's that? Lobster. Is that mussels? Mussels and lobsters and oysters. On Waxy's little sister here, so it's probably a reference to Waxy O'Connor's, which is the big pub a bit further along. This is Waxy's little sister, but originally this used to be the Falcon for many, many years. And that's why, if you look up at the brickwork there, you can see a little kind of bird there. That's supposed to be a falcon. Nice, isn't it? I like stuff like that. So we're just on the edge of Chinatown, and here on Wardour Street, and over there, O'Neill's, which is now a massive pub. Back in the day when that was the Flamingo Club, Stevie Wonder played there, Jimi Hendrix, Dizzy Gillespie. After that became a place called Whiskey A Go-Go, where the Clash, Stranglers played there, quite a punky kind of venue. And then later the Wag Club, where David Bowie did the video for Blue Jean. Blue Jean, you know, remember in the Maida Vale video, we saw David Bowie up a ladder for the beginning of the Blue Jean video outside that pub. Well, when you go in, actually the interior was the Wag Club here, which is I've just met a girl named Blue Jean, and it's right next to One Keys, which was famous for the bad service that you used to get in here. Now I'm assured that they no longer have this bad service, although I think some of the old school waiters sort of miss it. Perhaps they still do it, but it was a real tourist attraction. People would go. I once went in there. I think it was in the 1990s. I went in there and they actually I was moved table mid-meal, right? So they picked up the dish. It wasn't just moved table, I was moved floor. He moved me for a different floor down here now. I was like, wait a minute. And people used to come here especially for it. They'd leave disappointed if they weren't insulted or something. A friend of mine once left a 5p tip in there, and the waiter came out and he threw it at him. But since 2014, I'm assured that they have been training the waiters to be polite and respectful. I mean, the thing about it is it's very fast, it's convenient, and it was very cheap as well. So it was that's why it's such a popular place.
But that makes no difference, you see. If I haven't a fraction, I've this satisfaction. They built Piccadilly.
I came here to Pizza Express with my mum. This is I think this is the first Pizza Express in London. It was quite a big thing in those days. I mean, Italian food and Italian pizzas weren't as popular back in the 1960s, and having an Italian mum, she used to bring me here, not in the 60s, by the way, in the 70s and the 80s. And this Pizza Boiseau, I think his name was, he brought over his oven from Rome. And they had these lovely red chairs and marble tables. And it was good. Now Pizza Express is everywhere, but it was really, this is where it was, I seem to remember. There's a famous photograph of the Beatles walking along here, which I recreated in my Beatles video, actually. Because around the corner here, let's just pop around the corner, Rupert Street, Master Bun Pastry, that's where Sound City used to be, where they used to buy a lot of their guitars and stuff. So George Harrison got his one of his first guitars there, the one that he uses in She Loves You. She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. It was bought from there. And Brian Jones got a guitar that he borrowed money off Keith Richards. So a lot of the early Rolling Stones songs were recorded with a guitar from there. And at the end of the road there, where Book of Mormon is on, the Prince of Wales Theatre, that's where John Lennon famously said, "Those of you in the cheap seats, clap your hands. Those in the more expensive ones, rattle your jewellery." I'm not quite sure what he was trying to say. What was his point?
Rattle his own jewellery.
I'm so hot. We were just saying about, Simon was just saying about how in Victorian times, we don't know how they, people seem not to sweat.
No,
I mean, I wore this sort of thing. My hat is completely ruined.
It's like anything vintage, like from the 20s, 30s, that you can still see on film. You know, whether it be tennis or they're wearing trousers, jumpers, and you know, old Victorian photographs of the explorers, a whole family with a whole, I don't know, entourage of people climbing the bloody pyramids, wearing three-piece suits and dresses and hats and.
Anyway, I'll tell you what, I'll see you outside the Café de Paris in 2 Shakes of a Lamb's Tail. I think that's the side of it, or that might be something else. Gonna hang out or washing on the Siegfried line, if the Siegfried line's still there. That was first sung in there, I think. Well, one of the first most made popular in the Café de Paris. It's now the Rialto turned into a casino. It seems a pity to me because that was from 1924. It was like one of London's first nightclubs, really. Josephine Baker performed there, like Marlene Dietrich performed there, and they had a ballroom based on the ballroom in the Titanic. And it had these twin staircases that came down, which were based on the Lusitania, the big ship. And I mean, I remember going in there. I've been in there a few times for parties and stuff.
It's fantastic, isn't it? I mean, this is just the side of it, but I love it.
Orchestra there above the door. There, look at above the door. I mean, I never enjoyed it because I didn't like night clubbing, but the Queen obviously did. Queen Elizabeth II. She spent her 23rd birthday in there in 1949. Oh, Queenie, she celebrated in there. Just right next to it. Look here. This is the back side of the London Trocadero. Another one of these famous sort of entertainment venues from the late Victorian period. Later on became quite a fancy place to go for meals. Had a nice restaurant in there. People sort of having illicit love affairs would take their dates there. One of whom was Charlie Chaplin. When he was only 19, he went in there with Hetty, this 15-year-old. He was 19 at the time, and he brought her up here for a date. In the end, she rejected him for being too serious. Charlie Chaplin, of all people. I wouldn't have thought he was serious. I guess he was. Behind the mask. The ground floor and the basement, what I was reading, I don't know if it's true, they have turned it into a mosque now. I think upstairs is going to be a hotel. But that used to be like a music hall theatre where they popularised Watch All the Neighbours Cry, knocked them in the old Kent Road and two lovely black eyes. Oh, what a surprise. Those are all songs that got popular in the Trocadero. Ah, well, times they are changing, Simon.
Two lovely black eyes. Oh, what a surprise. Only foretelling a man he was wrong.
Do you ever go to the M&M's shop? I still do not know anyone who's ever been there. I mean, I see people coming out there all the time. I don't know what they say.
People with the bags of M&M's. I think, what you're getting from there? Just M&M's.
It's the biggest mystery to all Londoners. But what used to be there was the Swiss Centre. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
From 1968, they put the Swiss Centre here to try to promote Swiss tourism to British people, I suppose. And I remember going, I used to go in there. They had some nice buffets and places to go and eat. And they've got, if you're here at the right time, these bells play nice music. It's quite lovely actually because they closed it down and turned it into the M&M's shop 2008 or so, but they've retained the Swiss Glockenspiel it is, and all these 26 cantons of Switzerland. You know what a canton is?
A county?
Canton. Is it?
I guess. I'm just guessing.
Okay. All right, you say so. We're down here on Haymarket. Look, number 34. These days it's a souvenir shop. But do you know this is one of the oldest shop fronts in London? I think it might be the second oldest. The oldest one's down in Spitalfields. But that is actually, it used to be Freiburg and Trier or something, Trier. They were tobacconists. They opened in 1741. And they lasted like 260 years. They closed down in the 1980s. It's where people like Beau Brummel and King George IV and people used to go and get their tobacco. Actually, snuff was what people used to buy here a lot. And it was here that Ian Fleming used to come and get his tobacco. He used to smoke 70 a day. So someone was interviewing Ian Fleming in Vogue and they're writing, Ian Fleming lit his 20th cigarette of the day. It wasn't even lunchtime yet. This street, Haymarket, was indeed a Haymarket. It's where they used to come and sell hay down in the days when this was all just rural. The nearest hamlet was Charing, as in Charing Cross, that little area just behind Trafalgar Square. So this led to there. And then this is His Majesty's Theatre. This is the one where Tommy Cooper died on stage in 1984. And then he was doing one of his tricks and then he collapsed. And all the audience were laughing. They thought it was part of the show. But he was actually having a heart attack. And then Jimmy Tarbuck had to come out and sort of continue the show. Can you believe it? Unbelievable. Anyway, after that, since 1986, they've had the Phantom of the Opera on there. So that's where it had its debut, and it's been on ever since in that theatre. Extraordinary. Over here, I mean, look, Train Spotting the Musical, Simon. They'll make a musical about anything these days. I like the story about the Theatre Royal Haymarket and how they didn't have a licence to show proper proper theatrical entertainment with spoken dialogue back in the Georgian times. And the director of the theatre, Samuel Foote, he was horse riding one day with King George III and his brother, the Duke of York. And they, as a little prank, they thought they'd give a lame horse to Samuel Foote. And he was thrown off it and he broke his leg. He had to have his leg amputated. And then they felt really bad. The Duke of York said, I'm so sorry, what can I possibly do to repay you? And he said, well, I'd love a licence for my theatre, please, if you don't mind. And so, breaking your leg in the theatrical industry became a sign of good luck. So that's why people say when you're going on stage, break a leg. It's all because of him. Anyway, that's good enough for Joolz Guides. Look over here. Now, we were just here at the statue of King George III in the America video that I just did. And this is just opposite. Look, his lovely building is Oceanic House, where the White Star Liner Company were based back in 1912 when the Titanic went down. And there's a lovely photograph of a little boy, aged 15, called Edward Ned Parfitt. And he's standing outside here with his newspaper saying, Titanic sinks, or whatever. People would have come here to find out news about their loved ones, waiting whilst people would put the names of the survivors and victims in the windows here. So it's actually quite sad about Edward Parfitt himself, the little boy who's holding that billboard type thing. He died in the First World War in 1918, only a few weeks before the armistice was signed. These days, I believe it's luxury flats. I don't know. Probably.
It looks completely empty, doesn't it? You see inside.
Oh, yeah. Look at that. Completely empty. I keep forgetting to tell people you can donate to the Joolz Guides Fund if you want to help with the production costs. Feed Simon a scrap and morsel of bread. Yeah, you can just go over to the joolzguides.com website where you can leave donations as well. And there's books to buy as well. And I've got a new book coming out soon as well. So keep an eye out for that. On with the show. I wasn't intending to come to Trafalgar Square because I've already covered Trafalgar Square to death, but there was something I missed out. This is Nelson's column. And here we've got some damage. You see this damaged plinth here? See, it's been damaged. Well, that happened because of Barry Jacobi's grandfather just after the First World War, I think. Let me read out his letter to me. He says, Hi Joolz, London-born big fan, now from New Zealand. In the 1950s, my grandfather Giovanni used to show a young Barry around his London. In Trafalgar Square, with great but perhaps misplaced pride, he would point out the disfigured part of the plinth at ground level, here, on Nelson's right side. He told me how, as a young apprentice on Armistice Day in 1918, he was part of a group that dragged and then burnt a German field gun propped against the plinth. The damage done was never repaired, but kept as a memento. There is a Pathé newsreel of the extinguished fire and damage made the day after. I'll put a link to that Pathé newsreel because I've seen it. It's excellent. You can see it all here. He says, when in London, the Jacobi family always visit the site of grandfather's vandalism. One YouTube London guide wrongly claims the damage was bomb damage from World War II. I've never seen any other guide, including my favourite, you, thank you Barry, mention this damage. Well, anyway, I can exclusively reveal that his grandfather, Giovanni Jacobi, sounds Italian, blew up a German field gun right here. And they've kept all the damage. I think that's tremendous. Thanks, Barry. It's always a little bit weird. It's got a lovely row of shops down there, but then all this like car parks and it's all a bit of a mishmash. The Japan Centre there. But back in the early 1800s, this was a bare knuckle fist fighting den run by Bill Richmond. Now, Bill Richmond actually fought the famous Tom Cribb, who we spoke about in Woolwich. He was the champion of England, and he actually defeated Bill Richmond, but they later on became friends. And look, Tom Cribb's pub is over there. This is, I mean, it used to be called something else, but they named it after Tom Cribb. That's why he was there. And people used to go into the pub and organise bare knuckle fist fights, probably, that took place here. You know, you could place bets and stuff like that. Tom Cribb, his first fight was in 1805, and he won in 76 rounds. 76 rounds! They must have been knackered. You imagine?
I stroll the West gaily, you'll see me there daily. From Burlington Arcade up to the Old Bailey. I'm Tony, I'm Stony.
Okay, cheers. How was that, Simon? Did you have a good day? That was an excellent day. I love doing these films around central London. It's a lot of fun. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you like them, and head over to joolzguys.com if you want to know more about me, and leave a donation and buy my book and all that stuff. See you next time. Cheers.
If I haven't a fraction, I've this satisfaction. They built Piccadilly for me.